There's a concept in shamanic traditions that many people encounter for the first time during deep healing work. It's the idea that trauma fragments the self, not metaphorically, energetically, psychologically, somatically. When something overwhelming happens to us, something the nervous system cannot fully process in the moment, the psyche protects itself in a remarkable way. It divides the experience. Part of us continues forward in time, but another part stays behind in the moment of impact. That part carries the emotion that could not be safely felt at the time. The grief, the terror, perhaps the shame, the helplessness. And this is not weakness. It is survival intelligence. Your psyche knew you could not carry the full weight of that moment and continue living your life. So it compartmentalized it. From a shamanic perspective, this is often described as soul fragmentation or soul loss. But I want to speak about it very carefully because the language of soul loss can sound dramatic or overly mystical in a way that makes people misunderstand what's actually happening. So take a breath with me. And let's discuss this. You have not lost your soul, but parts of your vitality, your spontaneity, your innocence, your trust, your creativity, those aspects of your spirit can become exiled when trauma occurs, especially repeated traumas. And many people feel this without having language for it. They say things like, I feel like a part of me shut down after that relationship. I feel numb. I feel foggy. I used to be more open. I don't even recognize myself anymore. It's like the life force has just been drained from me. Or sometimes the opposite. I feel like different parts of me are constantly fighting with each other. One part wants intimacy. The other part is terrified of closeness or connection. One part wants to trust. One part wants to protect. The other part scans constantly for betrayal, fearing the original trauma. One part of you wants to rest. Another part feels unsafe, slowing down. These are not personality flaws. They are protective adaptations. Fragments of self that formed to help you survive different conditions. Modern trauma psychology calls these parts. Shamanic traditions describe them as aspects of the soul, different languages pointing to the same human reality. When trauma occurs, the psyche organizes around protection, and the fragments that held the most pain often go into hiding. You really can't blame them, not because they are weak, but simply because they are still frozen in the moment that first created them. Imagine a child who experienced betrayal. In that moment, their nervous system might have concluded the following things. 1, I am not safe to trust. Or, no one will protect me. A part of that child freezes with that belief. Years later, the adult may consciously want love and intimacy, closeness and connection, but the fragment that holds the original wound is still protecting. It still believes the world is dangerous, and it still tries to keep the heart closed. This is why so many people feel like they are working against themselves. They really want that closeness and connection, but just can't simply make that connection. Because healing is not just about insight, it is about integration. You cannot force a fragment to rejoin the whole. You have to create enough safety for it to return. And this is where the shamanic concept of soul retrieval becomes meaningful. Soul retrieval is not about chasing pieces of yourself through some mystical landscape. Not at all. It is about remembering, revisiting, and compassionately reclaiming the parts of you that had to split off in order to survive. It is about going back, not physically, but emotionally and energetically, to the moment where you abandoned yourself because you had no other choice. And meeting that younger version of you with the safety that did not exist then. This work can happen through many modalities. Through therapy, through energy healing, through somatic healing, through meditation, through prayer, through shamanic practices, through deep reflection. The method matters less than the posture. The posture must be one of compassion, because fragments do not return when they are judged, or shamed, or ridiculed. They return when they are welcomed home. One of the most powerful shifts people experience in trauma integration is realizing that their reactions make sense. The anxiety, the scanning, the bracing, the hypervigilance, the distrust, the emotional shutdown. All of it was intelligent adaptation. When you begin relating to your reactions this way, the shame starts to dissolve. And when shame dissolves, fragments begin to soften. Because shame is one of the strongest forces keeping parts of ourselves exiled. When you believe a part of you is unacceptable, you push it further away. But when you say, I understand why you exist. I understand why you had to do what you did. I see what you protected. I am not abandoning you anymore. Something changes. Your internal system begins reorganizing. You stop trying to eliminate parts of yourself. You begin integrating them. Integration doesn't mean those parts vanish. It means they no longer operate from isolation. They are welcomed home and they become part of the whole. Your protective parts can relax because they are no longer alone or shamed. Your wounded parts can express themselves because they are finally safe. And your core self, the deeper consciousness that witnesses all of this, it becomes more stable. This is what healing actually feels like. Not perfection, not doubt, not constant peace, but coherence. You feel more internally aligned. Your reactions slow down. Your intuition becomes clearer. You no longer feel like you are being pulled in 5 different directions inside yourself. You feel whole. And wholeness is not the absence of wounds. It is the integration of them. The parts of you that once felt broken become sources of wisdom. The sensitivity that once overwhelmed you becomes discernment. The grief that once crushed you becomes compassion, not just for yourself, but for others as well. This is the return, not becoming someone new, not transcending your humanity, returning to the fullness of who you were before survival demanded fragmentation. And that return is such a sacred process. It takes patience. It takes tremendous courage. It takes time. And it takes a willingness to sit with parts of yourself that were once too painful to face. But every time you meet those parts with kindness, you call a little more of yourself home. If you are walking this path right now, if you feel like you are slowly rediscovering pieces of yourself that you thought were gone, you are not imagining it, and you are not alone. You are integrating. You are reclaiming the parts of yourself that you once felt shame around. You are returning to yourself. And that is one of the most profound forms of healing there is. I'm Kat Grace. If this conversation resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe, and feel free to share this. I appreciate you being here. We are exploring healing through spiritual, psychological, and shamanic lenses here, because real healing isn't about becoming someone else. It is always about remembering who you were before you had to fracture to survive. Thank you. Namaste.